So today I'm here with Tina Sherwood. So today we are going to be talking about the subject of 𝗧𝗪 𝗪 initiative, which you're in fact the manageress of. So would you mind starting off and telling me what 𝗧𝗪 𝗪 initiative is for someone that has absolutely, imagine that I'm someone who has no idea what this is, and I am interested to learn more about it.
Okay, well, thank you, Georgia, for this opportunity. Yeah, I'm Tina Sherwood, and my title, I suppose, is Head of the 𝗧𝗪 𝗪 initiative. The 𝗧𝗪 𝗪 initiative itself is one of 3 branches of the 𝗧𝗪 music group, and it's the newest of the branches. The first branch is 𝗧𝗪 𝗪, which is a management company, and manages a stable of our own bands, currently at between 20 and 30 bands, I think. Then we have 𝗧 Promotions, which offers management services to bands who perhaps want to stay under their own management, but to have some extra support in finding gigs or help with merchandise and that sort of thing. And then the most recent development is the 𝗧𝗪 𝗪 initiative, which at the moment we're still, what are we, 9 weeks old, so we're still very, very young yet, officially, and we're not acting like 9 weeks old, believe you me. We're acting like we've been around for a very long time, and that's paid off huge dividends. I should say initially that the 𝗧𝗪 Music Group is a registered company which has been set up by John Craig, who is a former soldier. He now is into this full time, and he oversees everything that goes on. My job is generally with the 𝗧𝗪 𝗪 initiative, although I do a little bit of scouting for the bands for 𝗧𝗪 as well. But we're here about 𝗧𝗪 𝗪 initiative today, which is, from my perspective, it's one of the most exciting projects that I could possibly be involved in, really, where we are looking at education, and it's not education in terms of school at the moment. That may come later, but at the moment it's about business education and mentoring within the music industry, which at the best of times is a difficult industry. At this particular time is very, very difficult indeed.
So is working with 𝗧𝗪 𝗪 initiative and mentoring these bands something you ever thought that you would find yourself doing?
Definitely not. I've been retired for 7 years. I was a teacher for nearly 40 years, and I had no intention of coming back to work. But when the flag of this job was waved in my direction, it was something I couldn't say no to, and I have blessed every day that I've been doing it. It's an incredible thing that I do, and it's paying dividends day in, day out. It's wonderful.
Well, that's great to hear. So how many bands are you aiming to work with?
Okay, we have a number of criteria, which is really determined, not wholly, but for quite a large amount, by potential funding streams. And so our bands are average age 27 or less. They must live in the mainland UK, and that's for very practical reasons, really, so that if we want to do tours and that sort of thing, you know, it's then an easier thing to do, more practical thing to do. You have to be unsigned. You perform your own material, And most importantly, as far as I'm concerned, you have to have potential for excellence in every area, not just in the music you make, but in your attitude to the music, because it's such a difficult business. And this isn't a place for prima donnas. This is a place where if you're going to make it, you've got to have a business head on, and that's what we're aiming to do. So to go back to your original question, I'm sorry, I've sort of skirted round that. Currently, we're looking for a total of 10 bands. We have 8 at the moment, and maybe by the time this video goes out, we might even have 9, but that's still up in the air. But ultimately, we're looking for 10, and providing everything goes well, this will be an annual recruitment, and we will look for another 10 next year, and so on and so forth. So at the minute, we've got a very, very high standard of 8 absolutely knockout bands.
Great. So with a incomplete lineup at the moment, what are you looking for to represent Forge Ahead Initiative? What really stands out for you in a band?
Okay. Gosh, that's a difficult one, really, because obviously the music has got to be central, but it's got to be music and performance. You can get some fantastic musicians who don't necessarily give you a great performance, who aren't visual, and these days you've got to be visual, whether that be in a video or on stage, but you have to have a stage presence, and I think that is so important. Now, what we're not saying is we're only taking people that are polished. Part of what we're doing is recognizing that ability and developing it under our patronage, if you like. Yeah, so we're looking for that potential, really, and in my terms, it's potential for excellence. It's such a competitive business, the music industry, and the time, money and effort that's being put into this, we cannot afford to do anything other than produce excellence, which is what we're after.
So what are your main goals? Where do you want Forge Ahead Initiative to go?
It's a good question. Because we're still so new, and because of the interference of COVID as well, it's perhaps not quite following the path that we'd want to follow. But ultimately, the aims will be the same. From the middle of next year, we will be working in partnership with the Patriot, the 𝗕𝗺𝗃 in South Wales, which will act as a hub for a great deal of the work that we do. But it's really important that we are looking to elevate our bands from wherever they are when they start with us to as far as we can push them. And because they are all at different levels, every band will be working at a different stage, if you like, because some of our bands, our very youngest member of our youngest band is 13. Okay. Wow. I know. And so, as brilliant as they are, they're still so young, they're not going to have the experience that a lot of the others have got, so they will have a different starting point. But because we recognize there's a potential for excellence, the idea is that we will push them as far as we can towards that. Maybe not, push isn't the right word, because that sounds a bit strong. We will guide them by what we do, and with intervention and with people that we will be bringing in to work with us.
I mean, hearing that one of the youngest members of a band is 13 really is inspirational. They must be living the dream. So
Yes.
being 9 weeks old, and you say that you have made a lot of progress, what have you achieved so far?
Okay. The fact that we've already got 8 bands, because I was given until October to complete this, and I had 8 bands by the end of July, and to have found those 8 bands with such incredible potential is it just feels huge. But it also means that filling the last spaces is quite hard because we've set the bar so high. But it's interesting because you ask what we've done, and I was talking to somebody a little while ago who may be in a band that we have coming with us in the next few days, and I asked, how did he find out about us? And he said, all of a sudden, almost overnight, everything was Forge Ahead initiative, Forge AMP, Forged in Fire. He said just his whole feed for some reason had started to have the Forge name coming through it. And he said, and he's not the only person that said that. And so that, I think, is a tremendous achievement, that as an organisation, we're getting our name out there. And that's in no small part to a lot of networking that we've been able to do, and some of the people that we've got on board with us. And I'll talk about those, I guess, in a little while. But one of the people that we're working with is doing an amazing job of plugging for our bands. And obviously, because they're so new, we've had very little in terms of new output for them. That's changing very quickly. I've had to go back and buy a new academic diary so that I can see day by day who's releasing what, because it's suddenly going to go mad, with videos and singles dropping and everything. So, but 2 weeks ago, maybe, yeah, 2-3 weeks ago, our first band dropped their first single with us. So it was the first single that had come out associated with the Forge Ahead initiative name. And it was mail shotted out on the Thursday night, and by the Friday night it had been picked up by nearly 300 stations in over 80 countries across the world. I don't know how much bigger we want to go.
That is amazing.
Yes, we're all still reeling from that. And then on the back of that, since we've then had bands being picked up for Single of the Week, bands in playlists with some of the biggest names in the world, and then their names are in the middle of it. And that, I mean, for me in my position, that's a buzz. So what it must be doing for them is tremendously exciting.
That is just great to hear that there's these bands that are rising up and being against bands that are bigger than them and being on that, you know, the Single of the Week. That's just great to hear. It really is. And talking about bands releasing singles under the Forge Ahead Initiative name, and you've had to get a diary to keep track of everything, it's great to hear that even though there's the massive boundary with COVID at the minute, that these bands are able to overcome, you know, that like wall that's been put there in front of them and release music, you know, while we're stuck in the houses. So you have brand ambassadors. Why did you choose to have these people to represent, be a part of the team?
Okay, I think they're essential, and for any business in this day and age, if you want to be successful, you want to buy into people that maybe have an even greater reach than you do, to support what you're doing. And John Craig and I have been very lucky in being able to encourage and coerce some tremendous people to be a part of what we're doing. As brand ambassadors themselves, what it means is that these people, when they get the opportunity, will talk about us. So, for example, while we were looking for the last couple of bands, all our brand ambassadors have been using their socials to ask that same question. You know, who are you? Where are you? And chances are it's going to have more sway coming from someone like, for example, Ryan Anthony of Riders Creed, who is one of our ambassadors, or Pete K. Malley, who everybody knows on the festival scenes. You know, we have marvelous people involved. We have Anna Stella, who is great with the PR and doing things like you're doing as well with the interviews and the likes. And we have Paul Cash from MMH Radio. We have corporate sponsorships with Scotland Rocks Radio, who have instantly just given the bands the most amazing opportunity. I was able to deliver it to them yesterday, and they're all very excited about it. They're all going to do their own takeover radio show. So each band is going to have their own radio show, where they take it over with their own choice of music and playing their own music on Scotland Rocks Radio. We have the wonderful Dalton Keller from Play, Promote, Plug, Promote, Play, who, and it's he who's been responsible for mail shotting out a lot of our music to different radio stations all over the world. You know, and it's getting these people like these people who just have a great insight into things. We've also got fantastic Rebecca Downs, great blues rock performer, who is also on board with us. And this evening, I was absolutely blown away to be able to announce that we have announced our latest corporate sponsorship, which is in the form of Rockin' the Bowl Festival, which is held in Sheffield, which is an amazing festival headed up by Stephen Johnny Hughes. So it's just incredible, and we've got people coming to us saying we'd like to be able to help you out. You know, we've got some quite high profile names who may not necessarily be up there in our list, but are certainly in the background and ready to help us out as and when. So it's a very useful thing for us to have.
Okay, so where do you expect to be in, say, the next year?
Oh wow. If the last 9 weeks were anything to go by, my goodness me. I mean, it's a difficult question to answer accurately because, of course, of COVID. Ideally, this time next year, we will have 10 bands whose names are known all over the world. For me, when I talk with the bands, the thing that I say is they can only say no. And so don't be afraid to think big. Don't be afraid to aim big, because they can only say no. And that doesn't hurt anybody. And that's why we've managed to get such huge names on board helping us, because we've not been afraid to approach them. And they haven't said no. But if they did, it wouldn't hurt anybody. So this time next year, COVID allowing, we would like to think that I know if COVID allows, we've got some bands that will be touring, that will be in support of some larger names, because that's already on the cards if everything's ready to go. We will certainly be playing festivals. We have our own festival scheduled for next the bank holiday at the end of next May 2021, which will be at the Patriot in South Wales, and that's called the Ascension Festival. It will feature for the first 2 days Forge Amp bands, and the Sunday, which is May the 30th, it will showcase all 10 Forge Ahead Initiative bands, maybe headlined by a name that everybody knows.
Okay, so have you got any last words?
My last word is what I've just said. They can only say no. And that goes out to everybody. Don't be afraid to think big. Somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to have that place. Why couldn't it be you? Be realistic, but people can only say no.
That's very inspiring. So thank you very, very much for the interview. Hopefully this will clear anything up for anyone who was unsure about what Forge Ahead Initiative is, for the bands that are maybe looking to hopefully, possibly work with you guys in the future. So yeah. Thank you very much.
It's a great pleasure. Please feel free to find us on socials, Forge Ahead Initiative, through the Forge Amp page on Facebook, FAI Bands for our band page on Facebook, Forge Ahead Initiative on Instagram, and Ahead Initiative on Twitter. We are there. We're quite busy, and it will also give you visuals and audibles to be able to listen to and see, so that you can track for yourselves how the bands are doing.
And I myself, in the description of the video, will also put all the links to the band's social medias, so you can go and follow them on their socials. So that's it.
Brilliant.